Am I the asshole for getting mad my artist hid their initials in my tattoo? This is a short one. Names changed for privacy. I went to a tattoo shop in my area, with a photo of the tattoo I wanted. It was one my dad had gotten to honor my past grandfather whose father also had it. But the point is it was important to me that the tattoo looked exactly as it did in the photo. I get to the shop, I explain everything, I pay, get the tattoo, and we're done. I think it looks awesome, everything is great. Until a few weeks later when I show my great-grandmother the tattoo. She's static, grabs my arm to look at and compliment it, then asks, "Who's AJ?" I ask her what she means, and she points out on the tattoo where the initials A and J or maybe T were hidden into the tattoo. I'm instantly pissed, as my artist's name is Alice Trevor. She tries to assure me it's no big deal if I hadn't noticed it till now, but I still reached out to the artist sort of irritated. They told me the style of art I got is called traditional and it's pretty trad for all artists who do that style to do it. I demanded a partial refund and they refused, so I complained to the owner who made the artist give me a full refund. Now the artist is running a full smear campaign, talking about moving shops, and all kinds of crap. My sister says I'm an asshole for pushing the issue, but I feel like, at the end of the day, I told you exactly what I wanted and you didn't do that. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, and I would even consider suing. They kind of branded you with their initials. And they should get fired. Not the asshole. This person straight up branded you. Not only that, this isn't even the artist's design, it's a copied design. Not the asshole. Tattoo artists don't get to sign their work because their canvas is a human being. This is known. This is conventionally understood. Not the asshole. I remember there was an Ink Master episode where someone had a piece with a clock face and the artist put their time of birth on it as some kind of signature. The judges ripped him up for it. Same basic principle. Tattoo artists shouldn't be signing a tat in any way without first discussing it with the client. Your artist definitely shouldn't have done this since it was a particularly meaningful design for you. Not the asshole. I've been tattooing for almost 20 years and this is something you never do. WTF. Not only did the artist permanently brand you without your permission, but it wasn't even original artwork. This artist has to be so full of herself, she must be bursting at the seams. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I'm a tattooed guy and this thing is incredibly gross. She ruined a meaningful piece of art and she branded your own body without giving you a heads up. And now she's trying to play victim over it? Are these details discussed in this smear campaign of hers? If I were you, and with the store owner's blessing, I'd intervene and explain to everyone exactly what she did, because that shit will get her trashed pretty bad in the tattoo community. ETA. You know what, scratch, with the store owner's blessing, she's dragging their name in the mud anyway, and you gotta protect her future clients from this bullshit. Not the asshole. The artist put something on your body they didn't have permission to. You didn't consent to their initials, and it's really weird to mark another person with your name without them knowing. I hope word gets around because what this artist did was definitely not okay. Am I the asshole for leaving my husband at the clinic and driving off? Hello. IF26 have been together with my husband Austin M35 for 3 years. He was married before me but divorced his ex-wife because she couldn't have kids. Ever since I became pregnant he did a complete 180 degrees. He became obsessed by constantly watching my every move and breathing down my neck. He even hung photos of the sonogram. He also came up with a list of what I'm allowed and not allowed to do, like not driving, not eating certain foods, not working, but I stood my ground and continued working. Also not wear high heels or watch certain shows or see family unless precautions were taken. It has been exhausting for me already, but he has made it 10x worse. Yesterday, he woke me up at 7 a.m. and said we had to go to the doctor. I asked why since I wasn't feeling sick and he said he just had a hunch and I had to skip work and go with him to the appointment just to make sure because he felt something was wrong. I said no, but he went and called my boss and took the day off for me. I was just speechless but decided to just go to get it over with. We got there after he kept scolding me for things I did the night before that might be caused a problem, but literally there was no problem. The doctor told us that, but he asked her to check again and she did. He then asked her to check again, then again. I couldn't take it when he asked her again. I just got up, took my bag and walked out and left him arguing with the doc. I got into the car and went home immediately. He kept calling, then came home and started yelling at me for leaving in the middle of my examination, and then leaving him at the clinic. I blew up and told him I couldn't stand his obsession anymore and that his paranoia made me feel paranoid and is beginning to affect my social life, mental and physical health and my livelihood. He looked at me then said that I hurt him with what I said and that he was just trying to make sure the baby was fine and I was being aggressive and irresponsible towards him and the baby this entire time. He said I was acting like a neglectful mother when the baby isn't even here yet, then left and turned his phone off. This morning he's acting distant and is expecting some sort of a apology for what I did. Am I the asshole? Am I overreacting? NTA. Wow. Sweetie, that man is unhinged. There is something seriously wrong with him, and you need to go somewhere safe immediately. He needs mental help, and you need a restraining order and a safe place to hide. If he is this bad before the baby gets here, he is going to be completely out of control once the child is here. Leave now and don't look back. You are not safe. Not the asshole. Look, you are not in a safe or healthy situation. Are there relatives or friends you can stay with? You need to get away from this guy. Things are going to escalate very badly. This isn't a case of some poor guy being overanxious. This is a case of a man who is made of red flags and does not value people other than for what he wants to get out of them. That includes you. And his ex. His ex had no value because he couldn't get what he wanted from her. You have no value other than providing the thing he wants from you, so he's treating you like an appliance, not a person with needs and a career. That is going to get far worse from here. You need to get out. Leave him, leave him, leave him. Top comment is absolutely correct. He only sees you as an incubator. Girl, he left his last wife because she couldn't have children. That is a red fucking banner. And all of this controlling shit on top of it? Leave him. Yesterday. Not the asshole. Edit to add. I forgot about contest mode, so it def wasn't the top comment. Just the one I saw at the top, lol, but my point still stands. Not the asshole. Your husband needs to see a mental health professional. Not the asshole. This behavior could possibly go deeper than just a personality trait. I hope he seeks help. I've seen paranoia manifest into dangerous situations and loved ones being on the wrong side of it. He has obsessive thoughts and now he is beginning to compulsively act on them due to the paranoia. Please consult a doctor. Not the asshole. Leave now. This guy is an insane control freak who views you as an incubator, not a person or partner. Not the asshole, but you need to get out of there before the baby arrives. That's next level controlling behavior. I don't even know you and I'm scared for you and your kid. He's treating you like an incubator and will probably treat the kid like property as well. He's isolating you, interfering with your career and not even listening to doctors. If you stay, you'll soon enough be completely dependent on him and isolated from anyone who could help you get out. The only reason he's with you is your womb. You're nothing to this man but a carrier for his young. Does he already have a gender preference? You're wasting your 20s on this man. He targeted you for the sole purpose to breed you like livestock. Have you raised the produce? Then very likely discard you when you fail to follow his demands, have fertility issues or menopause. The age gap is a sign. You're not overreacting. You're underreacting. Quit falling for his manipulation and you're not the asshole. Edit. If you're not too far along, abort and run so you're not tied to him for the next 18 years. Am I the asshole for taking my babies on the quiet carriage for a train ride? Me and my twins, 9 months, were traveling to see family and went via train. I lined the trip up with their nap schedule so by time we arrived at the station, they were asleep in their stroller. I first entered a normal carriage, but there were child screaming, loud talking, music playing with no headphones etc. I didn't want to deal with that for the 3-hour ride or risk the babies waking up, so I moved to the next carriage which happened to be a quiet carriage. There were maybe 10 people in this carriage, and I could tell they weren't happy seeing the babies. No blame, I understood their concern. I sat in the seats closest to the doors so if the babies woke up, I could leave. One lady in particle, 3 rows up, was sending me death stares but I just settled in and ignored her. She came up to me before we'd even departed and told me it was a quiet carriage. I told her I knew and would move if we made any noise. She tried telling me kids weren't allowed in these carriages, not true. But I just repeated what I said early and smiled until she walked away. About an hour into the ride, one of the babies makes a noise in their sleep. It lasted a second and was quieter than if someone were to have sneezed, coughed etc., which had happened, yet I didn't say anything nor did anyone. The lady from earlier bolted right up, came up to me, and told me I had to go. She said I had violated the quiet carriage noises and made an attempt to grab my stroller. I hid her hand away, told her to not touch my stroller, that my 2 kids were in, and told her to leave us alone. I told her that her water bottle filled with ice was making more noise than I was, and her scolding at me right now was more of a distraction. She left and came back with a train worker, because I was apparently violating the quiet car rules. At this stage, my babies were awake yet still not crying or fussing. The worker told the lady I wasn't breaking any rules and to go back to her seat. The rest of the trip went as planned, no noises from the babies. When I told my family this interaction, most told me that it was obvious kids aren't supposed to be in the carriage and I should have left. I thought it was fine since they were quiet, it wasn't an official rule or even suggested, and I'd seen parents use the quiet carriage before to breastfeed, during nap time etc. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, your babies were quiet. As long as you are willing to vacate the quiet carriage when they are no longer quiet, fussing, crying, I don't see the issue. She seemed to be super upset they could make noise, not that they did make noise. You followed the rules. Not the asshole. The woman making a loud scene about silence needs to move to the other carriage. Where I am, as long as you're quiet, you're allowed to be in the quiet carriage. Easy peasy. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Babies were asleep and when awake they were quiet. That woman was just interfering for no reason. I like how you said you would have left if they did make noise. Can't get any fairer than that emo. Not the asshole, this lady was making a nuisance of herself more than you were. You were fine. They were asleep. Completely silent. How dare she touch the stroller? Her issue. Not yours. I have twins and have traveled back and forth across the world with them and people always judge but they soon discover they were wrong. You got this, mama. You make your choices. Not the asshole, but I think you're not addressing a particular piece of the story properly. Made an attempt to grab my stroller. I hid her hand away. I've gotta say, quiet catty age or not, if some entitled random person out there put hands on my infant stroller, there would be hell to pay, and it wouldn't be a simple hand slap. Not the asshole. If the train worker has said you didn't break any rules, I don't get why the nosy lady and your family said you're in the wrong. Plenty of times I've seen older folks making plenty of noise than babies crying, so to generalize and say babies make noise all the time is pretty ignorant of them. My take is so long you're not breaking the rules, carry on with what you have done so far. Am I the asshole for filing a police report against my nephew? My mom has late-stage Alzheimer's and has been unable to manage her money and needs around-the-clock care. It probably would be safer to put her in a nursing home, but she made us promise to only do that as a last resort. Thankfully she had a lot of investments and savings from my dad before he passed, so we can get her a hired personal carer in her own home. My sister is the one who lives the closest and visits her often, so she handles mom's finances. We give my sister $200 per month each for her to run errands and help look after mom since we both live out of state. My other sister called me to tell me there's been a lot of cash withdrawals recently on my mom's card. I check and there's nearly a year's worth of $3,400 withdrawn. We call my sister who is handling finances and she is confused and says she never takes out any cash, she only pays bills with the bank card and uses CC for the groceries etc. She freezes the bank card and I take a red eye over. Long story short, we asked the bank where the ATM withdrawal happened. My sister looks shocked when she Googles the location and realizes it's close to her son's school. We waited until the son got home and asked him where he worked and he said a local restaurant. We said we would like to go with him to the restaurant to confirm he works there and he got really panicked and said the management just changed so they wouldn't know him. I ask for his paycheck and finally he gives up and admits he doesn't have a job. My sister asked him where the money for the new stuff he bought home comes from and he admits he steals the bank card to make cash withdrawals. I asked him where he got the PIN and my sister confessed she writes her PINs on sticky notes so she doesn't forget them. Man facepalming. I take the bank statements and calculate out that he owns $14,308. I told him he has to pay it back now or I'm filing a police report on him for theft and my sister begs me not to, saying if he has anything on his record he might not get into college. I told her I won't if she pays it, but she said she's struggling and doesn't have the money, she's a single mother. I told her that isn't good enough and she complains her son is only 16 and doesn't know any better. I told her they won't put a 16-year-old in jail but he might do it again when he's older, so it's better to learn his lesson now. She said we can just take that out of what her son's inheritance would be from our mom, and I yell at her that if our mom was in a state to judge she would write him out of her will for this. I call up my lawyer and ask what I should do, and he suggests filing a police report but not including my nephew's name just yet. I did just that, and my sister is screaming at me that I'm ruining her son's life by involving the police, and he's only a kid. I'm not happy about it, but at 16, if he's stealing from his own grandma who looked after him when his mom was sick, I can't imagine what he's going to do when he's older. Not the asshole. I'm a former adult protective social worker, and this is exploitation and a crime. If you are in the US and your mom needed a nursing home in the next 5 years, Medicaid, which pays for long-term care, audits the finances upon submitting an application. They could deny paying her bill until the amount that was stolen was paid back or paid by someone, the family, to the facility for that amount that was taken. He either needs to get a job and pay back every penny he stole or face the justice system. This behavior needs to have consequences. My sister did this when she was young and my parents did nothing. She now has multiple felonies for theft, identity theft, and stealing credit cards. He needs to learn a lesson. Not the asshole. Better to report it now when he's a minor, than have him take the lesson that there are no consequences into adulthood. $14K is a lot of money. He needs to 1. Sell off everything he can that he bought, and 2. Get a job to start repaying that money. It's not all on his mother. Not the asshole. Reading this turned my stomach. If my mother had caught me stealing money from any end-stage Alzheimer's patient, let alone my own grandmother, everything in my room would have immediately been sold, I'd have 2 jobs, and college wouldn't even be on the table as an option until I finished paying off my debt. 16 years old is old enough to know better, and the fact that he doesn't yet is raising serious red flags. This needs to be nipped in the bud now. Honestly, you were far more gracious than I would have been by keeping his name off the initial report. If your sister doesn't understand the severity of the crime he committed, she can't be counted on to enforce proportionate consequences. I'm sorry that it's fallen to you to deal with this. Not the asshole. I understand your sister's concerns, but 16 is old enough to know that stealing is wrong. Once is a mistake, but the repeated withdrawals shows he has no regard for anyone but himself. You left his name out of it for purposes of the police report, which was kind of you. Now the kid needs to sell everything he bought with the stolen money, and b. actually get a job and make a written payment plan to pay back his grandmother. As long as the terms of repayment are being fulfilled, his name stays off the police report. If he misses a payment and doesn't have a good reason for it, like he had to pay for an unexpected car repair or something, then he will be prosecuted. Actions have consequences, and it sounds like it's long past time for your nephew to learn this lesson. Not the asshole. 16 is plenty old enough to know that stealing is wrong, and over 14 grand is not a petty mistake. Follow your attorney's guidance and ask the lawyer what the statutes of limitation are for criminal and civil relief. You might be able to say, okay, kid, one chance, repay every dime by your 18th birthday and you can enter adulthood without a criminal record and without a civil judgment hanging over your head. If your sister is going to continue in her role in your mother's care, open a separate account that receives monthly transfers of only what's needed for the expenses and her stipend. She clearly can't be trusted to keep the larger account secure. Info. Why has nobody thought about confiscating the stuff he took and selling that as a start for the payback? Edit, based on answers. Not the asshole for reporting to the police. As long as the boy's mother blocks any effort to let him make amends another way, job. Pay it off, there is nothing else to do. Not the asshole. Your sister raised a thief who was not ashamed to steal from his old disabled grandmother. Make sure they never get anywhere close to the money again. Not the asshole. It's theft, plain and simple. At 16, he might not have considered the long-term consequences, or any, but he is certainly old enough to know he's been doing the wrong thing. I do feel for your sister, though she must be under a lot of strain and pressure as a single parent looking after her mother alone, as well as her own family.